Hello everyone, welcome back to Cupcakes and Coasters. It's another sit down video, which means we're still in lockdown. It's been 12 weeks now, and I'm slowly losing my mind. I've really tried to kind of keep away from theme park stuff because every time I look at it I'm like, ugh, it makes me feel bad, and I feel like my brain tricks me into thinking, oh, watch some vlogs or watch some, read some blog posts or something, it'll make you feel better and give you kind of your hit of the theme park stuff, and then I watch a blog or I read a blog and then it makes me sad. But I feel like we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel now, and I spent a couple of days last week doing some trip planning, and I felt like it was the first time in a while I'd been able to do it and feel good about it, and feel like these are plans that are actually going to be seen through, as opposed to kind of me just planning for the sake of planning. But that is not what today's video is about. So I've seen a few YouTubers that I watch doing these assumption videos, so I asked you guys what are some theme park related or like roller coaster, amusement park, our hobby related assumptions that you guys have of me. So I thought it would be fun if I sat down with you today and answered some of them and let you know if you are correct in your assumptions. Let's get stuck in. So the first assumption that many of you asked, which I think is a pretty fair assumption to make of me because I don't really shy away from it. I'm just gonna get straight into this one, that I am indeed what we refer to as a cred whore. And for those who don't know, a cred whore is someone who will do whatever it takes, whatever kind of depths of shame they need to go down to get a +1 or a roller coaster credit. That often means riding coasters that are made for children. Sometimes it means riding roller coasters that are made for small children. Yeah, I used to be, and I think in the UK I still probably am. Like I would drive 3 hours to go to Barry Island to ride a dragon coaster. That's on my list of things to do this summer if we're ever allowed out of the house again. Other countries not so much, just because it's kind of lost its edge a little bit, and it's kind of, if I had to toss a coin between like going to see that cool castle or something over there or going to ride the rubbish roller coaster, I would probably go and look at the cool castle now. I guess I've grown up a little bit, but back in the day, very much so. So yeah, anyone who assumed that about me, you're very correct. So now that we've got that one out of the way, let's get stuck into the list proper. So I asked you guys across Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, and these are kind of just a big mashup of all of those. So they're not in any particular order, I've just kind of consolidated them all into a list on my phone. So let us get stuck in. You know what each ride will feel like because of your coaster count. That's an interesting assumption. I guess it's saying that they assume I think I know what a ride will feel like, but no one can ever truly know, and you guys know I'm a big advocate of not listening to what everyone else says about a certain coaster and not really watching POVs, like just letting your own experience of the ride determine what you think of it. Obviously when you've ridden over 1,000 roller coasters, you do have an idea in your head of what certain elements feel like, but there are things that you absolutely can't account for. I always think the first drop of Sky Rush is a great one as an example of this, because the first drop of Sky Rush has this mad airtime out of nowhere, and to look at it, you would never know that it's going to do that, and then you're halfway down the drop and you just get kicked out of your seat for no reason. And I mean, like physically, I still look at that ride and I have no idea why it does that. But yeah, there's always things that are going to take you by surprise, which is, I guess, why this hobby is so great, and why you really shouldn't take what other people say about rides and coasters as the gospel, and that is exactly how it's going to ride, because so many different things can determine what your ride is going to be like. The rain, the heat, the time of day, how you're feeling. Like if you're really hungover and you go on a ride, it's not going to be as fun as if you're feeling kind of bright and chirpy and on the ride, you know what I mean? So it's I have an idea of what I think it's going to ride like, definitely, but I would never say that I feel like I know exactly what this coaster is going to ride like. You have learned some kind of hair magic, as it always looks good even when you're on a roller coaster. First up, thank thank you so much. That's really lovely of you to say. I really appreciate that. Secondly, anyone who knows me, who's been to a theme park with me, knows that the hairbrush is constantly out. If I went to a theme park and didn't have a hairbrush with me, I think I would have to like go home and get it and bring it back, because I like to take pictures when we're at theme parks. Obviously I'm filming a lot of the time and I have long hair. I don't usually tie it back. I don't really like to have my hair tied up, so I need to brush it constantly, otherwise it ends up looking like rat's tails at the end of the day. But yeah, that's why. It's not any kind of magic or anything I do to it, I just brush it constantly. Good hairspray as well. I use the, I think it's called like Got To Be, I think it's the Schwarzkopf one, the one in the bright yellow can. That's what hairspray I use, if anyone would like to know what my secret is, I guess, when it comes to the hair. Even when I'm actually riding the coasters, like obviously I've got a fringe, in case you didn't notice, and on slower coasters that can kind of stay in place if I've got a lot of hairspray in, but generally it ends up, oh god, it ends up all over the place. Anyone who's ever ridden stealth with me can account for that. My hair ends up like Something About Mary style, like sticking straight up in the air when you come into the brake run on that coaster. So it definitely doesn't stay in place while I'm physically on the rides. Yeah, I've been visiting parks and riding coasters with my hair down for a long time, so I know generally how it's gonna go. But yeah, I used to take hairspray with me to a lot of parks, but it happened on more than one occasion where I got the hairspray confiscated on the bag checks, because obviously it's an aerosol and some parks are a bit funny about it, so I don't really do that anymore. I just take the brush. But yeah, I mean that makes me think, actually I've been thinking about whether I should do a kind of what's in my bag theme park edition, like what I generally take to a theme park, what my bag looks like. So let me know in the comments if that's something you'd like to see for a future video. I never know if people are going to be interested, so obviously if you're interested in that kind of thing, let me know and I'll see what I can do. But yeah, basically brush it, brush the hair, keep brushing it, don't stop brushing it, always be brushing the hair. And that's how it ends up not looking like shit at the end of the day. This one really made me laugh. You're a cheap person and always complain about ticket price. I don't think I'm a cheap person. I like to feel like I'm getting my value for money, you know? And there are certain things that I just absolutely won't spend money on. Ticket prices for parks, I think, generally speaking, I think like your £30 to £40 mark to get into a theme park, which is usually what you'd be looking to pay, is fine. Like whether you've got that price with a voucher or you've booked online, however you've done it, that is something I would be comfortable with. That's a price I would be comfortable with. Something that I did kind of loudly complain about was the Universal Studios on the day. The fly. Stand by. Die. When we went to Universal Studios last year, we'd been to Florida in September 2018. So when my sister was getting married last year in 2019, she got married in Florida. But they did like the full 2-week Florida holiday. But because we'd been so recently, we didn't really want to do that again. But we were like, Hagrid was new, and Busch Gardens, we went to Busch Gardens as well because Tigris was new. So we had to buy a 1-day ticket into Universal Islands of Adventure. And obviously if you've only ever gone to Orlando as part of like a package holiday, you've never really paid attention to how much the park tickets are. Like I know for 2 weeks you would spend maybe £700–800 on unlimited entry to all of the Disney parks, all of the Universal parks, SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, whatever. So you don't really feel the sting of how much they are through that. But when we went just for the 1 day, bearing in mind we'd only been to this park 6 months previously, I think it was like 120 quid for 1 day entry, and I was like, that is too much money for a theme park. Even a Universal theme park, which are, like, I love Universal, they're some of my favourite theme parks in the world, but can you justify £120 entry to a theme park? And I know that most people don't pay that. Like most people aren't just showing up and going to the parks for 1 day. Most people have some kind of like a multi-day ticket or a kind of Orlando Flex ticket or a kind of booking with a hotel or package deal or something like that. So we definitely are in the minority of people who would pay that, but I think that's too much. Even The Dubai parks, the UAE parks, also they were quite expensive. I think Ferrari World was something like £70, I think. Can't remember off the top of my head, but I believe it was about 70 quid to get in, and you just think, no, that is pushing it a bit. Like 30 to 40 pound, fine, but almost double that for, I mean, what's so special about this place that I can't get somewhere else for the same price? You know what I mean? Like, obviously, again, it's all relative to where you are in the world, and I feel like Universal can probably justify that a little bit more, just because the calibre of the park and the rides is so much, it's world class, so you would expect to pay a little bit more of a premium price. But generally I don't really complain, but I definitely do keep an eye out for deals and things, so I would be annoyed if I paid full price for something. Like, I always am sniffing out a voucher or an online discount or something. You prefer a European park to a US park, excluding Universal or Disney? That's a really interesting one. I think they're very different. I think aside from, like you say, the Universals and the Disneys, maybe even Dollywood and Silver Dollar City in there as well, American parks do things that European parks don't, and European parks do things that American parks don't. I think if you boiled it down and it came to which park would you rather revisit, would you rather go back to Valley Fair or would you rather go back to like Efteling, I would probably choose the more themed, kind of nice environment, fairy tale style aesthetic that a lot of the European parks have, where they place more of an emphasis on kind of immersing you into a narrative, whereas I think that it's fair to say that American parks, widely, they're more looking at kind of just delivering that thrill, and whether that's kind of a coaster built on a car park to do that, then that's just the kind of, that's the way they go about things over there. Like I said, they both have their virtues, they both have their upsides and their downsides, but I think if you kind of listed the top American parks, excluding Disney and Universal, and the top Efteling parks, and the top European parks, excluding Disney, I think I would prefer to go on a European park trip than an American park trip. But yeah, like I said, that's not to say that I don't like American parks, I really do. I think if you're looking like for like, American parks probably have the better roller coasters. Like, if you stripped everything back and took the theming away and the narrative stuff that the European parks tend to put a bit more emphasis on, and just looked at the steel, the American parks would probably come out on top. But yeah, it's hard to say, isn't it? Because they're so different and they offer such different things that you can't really say one over the other. But yeah, generally speaking, I'd probably go Europe over America. You have once bribed your way onto a +1 that requires you have a child with you to ride. I haven't paid a kid to ride a roller coaster with me, if that's what this question is asking. I know for a while back there was like a lot of coaster clubs that if they had like one kid that would come along with them, everyone would give the kid like $5 and the kid would like rake it in and everyone would get the +1. I've definitely like used kids to get into parks. I remember back in the Coaster Force days, one of the members had a kid and the kid came along so we could all go to Gulliver's Warrington together. We've done stuff like that, and when we talk about bribe, I haven't bribed the park. Like, I haven't snuck the park some secret money to let me in, but I have kind of emailed ahead and been like, I'm a coaster nerd, I want to ride the +1, I know that you have a kind of family only policy, but I'm literally here to ride it and then I'm going to leave. I've done all that stuff to get +1s, but I can't say I've ever paid a child to ride with me or paid like park management to let me kind of slip in the side gate and out the back door to get the +1. I wish I had. That would be a more interesting answer to this question, but no, sadly I'm a cred whore, but not that much of a cred whore. You get your hair cut only at Disney parks. What a strange assumption to have of me. I've never had my hair cut at a Disney park, actually. I probably would never, because I think if I lived locally, maybe it's something I would look to do, but when you're on holiday, like, the last thing I'm thinking is, oh, let me go get my hair cut. I hate going to the hairdressers at the best of times, let alone when I could be on a roller coaster. I've seen a lot of people do that thing at Disney parks where their child's first ever haircut is in the barbers on Main Street, which I think is a really, really cute tradition. I think that's something that I would probably do if I had kids. But yeah, no, that's not correct about me. You have a fast pass for the line up to the fast pass. Actually, when it comes to kind of queue jump stuff, I don't tend to, this probably goes back to the you're cheap and you don't spend money on things. I don't really tend to buy fast passes. Like obviously when you're in Disney Park and it's free, then obviously I'm going to make use of it. But I tend to just plan my trips so that I'm not in the parks when they're going to be that busy, if that makes sense. If I mismanaged like my dates or a calendar, or didn't realise there was like a public holiday on and we went to a park and it was absolutely heaving, then it's definitely something I would consider, because I mean, you can't really put a price on having a good day. If I can spend 30 quid and get loads of fast passes and have a great day, then I'm gonna do that. But yeah, if this needs must, isn't it? If the situation calls for a fast pass to be needed, then I will. I think a few times me and Connor went to Wallaby Belgium once, and when we were like queuing to go in, it was crazy and there were kids everywhere, and I was like, oh my god, like I think at the time there were like 7 coasters that I needed to get on, and I was like, we are not going to get on any of this stuff. And it was like 15 euros for a fast pass, so we just got the fast pass, and then we went in the park and it was completely dead, and it was just a total like illusion that the park was actually busy. I think it's because of just the way the entrance is set out. It looks a lot busier than what it is. I got fast passes when we went to Universal Japan. The Japanese parks I would recommend getting fast passes for, because they're not as faffy as the Chinese parks are in terms of operations. I think China wins that by a slight margin, but there is some faff. Like the efficiency isn't there like you would get in an American park or a European park. And when you have a park like Universal that's very busy, it's one of the busiest theme parks in the entire world, they always have queues. Whatever day you go, you're not really ever going to end up there on a very quiet day. And I think we ended up, I don't think it was a lot of money. I think for the entrance ticket and the like ultimate fast pass thing that you could get, I think it was about £100, which, I mean, that's a lot cheaper than like the US versions of the Universal Park. So I think if I was in a situation where I needed to have fast pass to enjoy my day, sure, but it's not like a go-to thing. I don't go to theme parks and go, well, I must have fast pass or I'm going to have a terrible time. I think there's actually a little bit of virtue in queuing. It's nice to have a little bit of a break in between everything. I don't know if you guys would agree, but I've been to parks on days where it's absolutely dead, and not only do you not have the atmosphere of a park that actually has people in it having a good time, if you go on one ride to another, and you've done like 6 rides all across the park in like 1 hour, you end up sat there thinking, well, what the hell do we do with the rest of our day now? Like, you're bored. And also, I've noticed a bit more as I get older, it can get a bit much as well. Like if you do loads of stuff one after the other, it can play on you a little bit. Like, I just think it's a bit nicer to pace yourself. If you're in a park that has loads of coasters, like if you go to Magic Mountain or Cedar Point or something and you only have 1 day there and you want all the creds, then sure, maybe I would get a fast pass. But like I say, usually I plan around it so that I don't have to do that. But yeah, fast pass isn't really an essential for me when I visit theme parks. Your favourite ride is a Wacky Worm. It's not, but I like Wacky Worms. Wacky Worms are fun. I think I prefer like a Big Apple because you've got like the theming element. But I think Wacky Worms are pretty good fun for kiddie coasters with the little, like, you know, the bit at the top that goes, that's always fun. And like if their trims are off on the drops, they can be good rides. They don't have to be a shameful experience. They can be fun. I assume you like roller coasters. Yeah, a little bit. You'd be correct there. Yeah. I assume that the Beast at King's Island is secretly your favourite coaster. Hell no. So, I mean, I've written about this to death, and I've been on so many rants, and the Beast sucks, guys. Like, anyone who likes that ride is kidding themselves. I'm absolutely sure of it. I was so shocked at how bad it was. I know that's sacrilege. Some people are going to hate on me for that, but I mean, I don't know why people Like, I would understand if people were like, yeah, it's one of those it's so bad it's good kind of rides. Like, that I can get on board with. I'm very much in that camp of, yeah, things can be so bad they're good. But people that are like, no, it's genuinely a great coaster, no, it's really not. It's so not. Fun fact about the Beast was my 1000th coaster credit, but it probably wasn't my 1000th coaster credit, because the other day I was writing a blog post about Togo coasters, and I was trying to figure out a list of how many Togo coasters I'd ridden, and one came up at Himeji Central Park in Japan, and I was like, oh, I can't remember if we rode the Togo coaster there, let me have a look at my my coaster count. And I loaded it, and I searched Himeji to save me scrolling, and it was like, no search results found, and I was like, that's weird, maybe the search function's being shit. So I scrolled down to H, and it just wasn't there, and I was like, maybe I've like ordered it funny or something. So I searched for Diablo, the name of the B&M invert there, and nothing came up, and I was like, well, that's a bugger, isn't it? So I got +5 yesterday, which means it's great news being in lockdown, adding +5 to my coaster count, but it does mean that all of my milestones since 2015, which is when I went to Himeji Park, are slightly skewed now. I'm not going to try and think on it too much, but like, it's annoying. But yeah, I honestly, I've gone through that list with a fine-tooth comb so many times. I have no idea how I managed to miss it, but I mean, these things happen, so what are you going to do? I assume that you've eaten a cupcake whilst riding a coaster. I don't think I've actually eaten anything whilst riding a coaster, because, you know, no loose articles on the rides, guys. We must follow the park rules. But yeah, like, this assumption is it's wrong. I've never eaten a cupcake on a coaster. I should do that. I remember I went to Disneyland Paris once, and for their birthday they had all these giant cupcakes, and the one in Frontierland was a giant cupcake with a big Thunder Mountain roller coaster going around outside, and I was like, oh, have I eaten anything on a roller coaster? I don't think I have. I think I've eaten something on a log flume. I'm thinking it like had an ice cream on a log flume or something, but yeah, no, not something I can claim that I've done, sadly. That I sacrifice all of my holiday time and budget to my hobby, sometimes to the annoyance of others. So when you're married, like I am, you have to, there's some give and take, especially when your husband isn't a coaster enthusiast. Like, Connor enjoys theme parks, but he's not a theme park or coaster enthusiast like I am. Like, he will come along to good places, but anywhere that's just kind of like a box ticking exercise, he's not interested, he doesn't want to come. So not all of my holiday time and budget is allocated to it, but a hefty portion is. I think more so now, we kind of, especially if we're going on holiday together, if we're doing like a big 2-week trip somewhere, it's not going to all be coaster centric, because that's not fair on him, like, because otherwise he's spending all of his money to do my hobby. So we kind of have to balance it out, and obviously Connor's family live in Ireland, so we always need to keep a couple of holiday days spare so that we can go over and see our family over there. And it's nice to have days where I'm not going to theme parks. Like I say, I just kind of, I'm quite strategic with how I do my my annual leave days and my budgets. Like, I'll make the most of bank holiday days and kind of plan trips that are over bank holiday, so then you need to use less annual leave days to make up the full length of the trip and things like that. There are clever ways of doing it to kind of maximise your theme park time, but yeah, in the past it's definitely been something that we've argued about in the past, and maybe I've gone a little bit too obsessive over, but I think now I'm kind of toned it down slightly, and it's a bit more of a balance now. That it pisses you off when people say, I don't know how you afford it, when you already make sacrifices to allow you to enjoy your hobby. Yeah, it's the thing that annoys me more is when people say, oh, you're so lucky, like I'm just so lucky that I happen to go to theme parks. Like, it's not me actively making the choice to do so. Like I say, it's all in planning. If you know you want to go somewhere, you have to have a plan, you have to know how much it's going to cost, and then you save up that amount of money to go there. Like, I don't have an amazing car, or like I don't own a house, I don't eat out in restaurants that often, because we would rather spend our money going on holiday. That doesn't just mean going to theme parks either. Like, me and Connor like going away to places, like we like going on little adventures, should we say. But yeah, it does annoy me when people say, oh, I don't know how you can afford it, when it's like, well, it's a choice, isn't it? This is what I choose to spend my money on and spend my time doing, and that means that I have less money to spend on enjoying other things, which I think is the same probably for everyone. And there are probably some people who like theme parks, but they have families and things like that that they need to spend their money on. So it's just all in the balance, really, and it's what you choose to do with your life, I would say. You have no interest in visiting Australia because it's so far and our coaster lineup is less than spectacular. Australia is a weird one. It's not, I don't want to not go there because it's so far. Like, I have no problem with travelling. I would quite like to actually go to New Zealand because I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, and I'd love to go to see all the locations where it was filmed. Australia's just never really interested me as a country in general, and I apologise if I offend anyone by saying that, because I know a lot of people really love Australia, and that's great, and it's kind of like, if I ever found myself there, I'm sure I would have a great time, but there's 100 other places that I would rather go that are ahead of the list than Australia. I think my brother used to live in Australia. He's back in the UK now, but I have a feeling that one day he will probably go back to Australia, meaning that at some point I will probably find myself there, and if I do, I will probably visit the parks there. But yeah, it's not as if there's kind of like the Cedar Point equivalent of an Australian park that I'm dying to get to. Like, obviously I'd like to go to Dreamworld and Movie Park and all of those places, but it's just not somewhere I'm that interested in visiting in general. Like, theme parks aside, there has to be something else that I want to go there for. And like I say, it's not to say that I'm actively like, I'm never going to Australia, it's a terrible place. Like, no, like, if I won the lottery and could like quit my job and spend the rest of my life travelling the world, then I would go to Australia. But yeah, it's not really top of the list for me currently in terms of places I'd like to visit, but maybe one day. That your blog is called Cupcakes and Coasters because you've celebrated your birthday solely at theme parks and therefore associate cake with thrills and excitement. I love this assumption. It's not correct. I've definitely spent more than my fair share of birthdays in theme parks, especially as I've kind of gotten older, but my birthday's in October, so as a kid I didn't really ever go to theme parks in October. We would usually go in the summer holidays or in the kind of half terms and things, but I don't ever remember going to parks for my birthday as a kid. When I was in sixth form, I used to make everyone go to Thorpe Park Fright Nights for my birthday, so probably when I was like 14, 15, 16. But my blog is called Cupcakes and Coasters because I like coasters and I wanted something that sounded cute and alliterative, and something that I actually wanted something that identified me as a woman, because as we know, the kind of the theme park content creator kind of side of things, it's quite heavily male skewed, and I wanted it to be obvious that this was kind of like a girly corner of the coaster side of the internet. So, and I thought Cupcakes and Coasters conveyed that quite well. I think if I started the blog now, I would call it something different, because as many people have said, there's no cupcakes on there, it's all about theme parks. I know, it's literally just, it sounded cute and I liked it. But yeah, I don't know what I'd call it now. If I started it now, it would probably be something entirely different, but I think people have gotten used to it now and people know what Cupcakes and Coasters is all about, and they associate it with me, so I probably wouldn't look to change it anytime soon. But yeah, not because I celebrate birthdays at theme parks, even though I do that. Your favourite coaster isn't one of the big well-known popular coasters. My favourite coaster is Sky Rush at Hershey Park. I think back in 2012 when I first rode it, it was like the big news at the time, like everyone was talking about Sky Rush, and it's quickly kind of fallen off the radar a little bit. I know a lot of people found it painful to ride because of the airtime, plus the restraints are a little bit uncomfortable on the thighs. So it's fallen out of the spotlight a bit, but I think generally, if you ask coaster enthusiasts, like, they know what Sky Rush is. It's not one of the kind of flavour of the week coasters like Steel Vengeance or something like that, even though I think Steel Vengeance is number 3 on my list now. But yeah, I quite like that my #1 coaster is something that not a lot of other people have as their #1. I was meant to be re-riding it this year because we were planning on going to kind of East Coast of America in October, but we don't know if that's going to happen now. But it's been so long since I last rode it, I would be very interested to see how I would compare it to like Taron and Steel Vengeance and all of those things that I've ridden since, because I was absolutely blown away when I rode that thing 8 years ago. But now I've ridden like quite a lot of other stuff, and obviously RMCs are a thing now, and they weren't back then. Were they? And we just hadn't ridden one? I don't know. They weren't really a thing back then. So it'd be interesting to see, because I'd never ridden anything that had like that kind of insane ejector air time, whereas now you've got things like even like Steel Vengeance, Taron, Storm Chaser, Lightning Run at Kentucky Kingdom. All of those things have that kind of crazy, really forceful ejector air time. So yeah, I'm quite keen to get back on it as soon as I'm able, just to see if it still holds up. When you go to Merlin parks, you only eat at Pizza Pasta. Obviously we know that I love me some pizza pasta buffet, but there are other places I would eat. I mean, pizza pasta would always be my first choice, obviously, because it's amazing. I really love the Smokehouse barbecue restaurant at Chessington. That's really good. Obviously when the park is open, Connor and I only live about a 10-minute drive from Chessington, so we would quite often just pop in there and just go to the Smokehouse and get dinner, and then maybe go on 1 or 2 rides and come home, which is quite nice to have that round the corner. What other Merlin Park foods do I like? Honestly, pizza pasta is probably like it's definitely the one I go to most. Absolutely. I used to really like the buffet at Splash Landing, so I can't remember what that's called now, but I think that's a pizza pasta now. An improvement, if you ask me. Yeah, no, generally, yeah, I would go to a pizza pasta buffet because they're so delicious. And this is the last assumption that you guys have of me, theme park assumptions. You always ride hands-free on a new coaster. I think that's quite an old school thing, isn't it? Like, I know when you look at like the videos of like Ace meetups and the old theme park review videos, like everyone's riding the coasters hands-free, and I think now, like, obviously we do put our hands up, but I'd rather be comfortable. And like I was talking about the kind of insane ejector air time, like you can't really ride something like Skyrush or Taron with your arms up the whole way without hurting yourself, I don't think. Maybe you can. I'm just a little bit like, I don't feel like I have to have my hands up to enjoy a coaster, if that makes sense. I think if I know there's going to be airtime, obviously I try and have my hands up, but like I wouldn't put my hands up on Nemesis because my head will hit the restraints because I'm small and the restraints sit here and I'll shake my head on it. But yeah, no, it's not, I don't actually, thinking about it, I don't know if I do. Like, it's not something I would actively like do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be like, I'm going to ride this with my hands up now. It might just be something that happens naturally when I'm on the ride. I don't know, I'll think about that. Next time I go on a brand new coaster to me, I'll think about what I do. But yeah, I do know people who will actively go out of their way to not grab the kind of the harness or the restraint. But yeah, I think they do tend to be the more of the old school coaster enthusiast end of things. So that is it for your theme park assumptions about me. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted an assumption. I had a really good time reading them. I'm quite surprised there were no kind of harsher ones. I don't know what there would be. I think my friend said it's quite hard to have an assumption about me because I wear my heart on my sleeve when it comes to coaster enthusiast stuff. Like, I will tweet about it, or I'll post about it, or I'll talk about it in a sit down video or whatever. So people who follow me tend to already know quite a lot about me that I've already confirmed. So yeah, thanks so much for your questions. I hope you've enjoyed sitting down with me once again and talking about theme park stuff. Like I say, it helps keep me occupied, give me something to do, and I like making these videos for you guys to enjoy and hopefully while away some time I mean, I know a lot of people have started going back to work now, but I mean, I'm still in lockdown. I'm sure a lot of you guys are too. So yeah, we can help each other out, keep each other entertained. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up, give a little comment, a little subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Hopefully we'll be out of the house somewhere. That's what I'm planning on, but I mean, you never know. So yeah, thanks for watching guys. See you later. Bye.